Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Lauren Cielo from Golden Rose Psychic Services.
And I'm Crystal Heinemann of Crystal Sunshine Psychic Services.
And this is the Metaphysical Q A Podcast,
where we make metaphysics crystal clear
and golden delicious.
That's right. Metaphysical QA is a subscription-based podcast that is going to shift the way each human views the experiences that they're having here on this earth plane.
That's right. Crystal and I are professional clairvoyant healers and teachers, and we're using this platform to help explain your everyday human experience in easily understood metaphysical terms.
And our viewers and listeners supply the questions. That's you. If you'd like to submit a question, would you please visit us on our website, www.metaphysicalqa.com, or please visit our Facebook page, Metaphysical Q&A, and please submit your question. And if we use your question in a podcast, then we're going to offer you a free reading.
Hey, you get a free reading and the answer to your question. So, So, Crystal, what are the questions for this episode?
All right. So we have 3 great questions today. So question number 1 comes from Jessica in Texas. And Jessica wants to know, I've heard the term soul group before, and I wonder how to know if someone is part of my soul group.
Good question.
Yeah. Question number 2 comes from Betty in Portland. And Betty wants to know, I know this may sound silly. Nothing's ever too silly for us.
No.
I know this may sound silly, but I'm deathly afraid I'll marry the wrong guy. How can I be sure that the person that I'm engaged to is my soulmate? Fair enough. Question number 3 comes from Carl in London. Hello from across the pond, Carl. Now, Carl wants to know, I married my high school sweetheart over 30 years ago. She was my best friend, and a few years ago, she decided to divorce me and to move on. I know. I think I'm finally ready to start dating again, but I still feel so connected to my ex-wife. If she is my twin flame, how can I move on? Heavy on the heart here, Dr. Lauren. Well, I think, I don't know, you want to call this metaphysics of the human heart?
I do. I think that's a great title. Well, it looks like we should probably start off with some defining of metaphysical terms. What is a soulmate? What's a soul group? And what the heck is a twin flame? So are you ready to get to the questions, Crystal?
I am beyond ready, and so is my heart.
Let's do it.
All right, so question number 1, Dr. Lauren. This comes from Jessica in Texas, and Jessica wants to know, she says, I've heard the term soul group before, and I wonder how to know if someone is part of my soul group.
Oh, great question.
Yeah.
Well, probably the best way for us to understand all 3 questions that we're going to talk about in this episode is contracts, of course.
All comes down to contracts.
So you might think that that your soul groups are all of the people that your name appears on their contracts, and their name may appear on your contracts. So that's really all it metaphysically means. So let's see if we can kind of put that in Earth context. Let's think of maybe Elvis Presley or Michael Jackson, or maybe at any one given time who the President of the United States is. Well, if you're listening to Michael Jackson's music, you have a contract with him to buy his music or listen to it, to have it affect you in some way. So certain people in each incarnation might have huge soul groups where maybe everyone, close to everyone on the planet is on those contracts. Now, let's go the other way, right? From one extreme to the other, like I like to do. Let's think of the handful of indigenous native people that are still left on the planet that have not had contact with the rest of us. Well, just think how limited their soul groups are. They don't even know who Elvis or Michael Jackson or the President of the United States, they don't even know those things exist. So that might start to help you realize how big and varied these soul group contracts are. So you might be a member of many soul groups. When we first got this question and we were talking about it, I told Crystal that when I was 30, the women that I was playing basketball with decided to leave the city league we were playing in and go to the old ladies league, the 30 and over, right? Well, we ended up playing together for another 20 years until, I stopped when I was 50. So 20 more years we played in the 30 and over league. So at that time, my contracts with my teammates, we were, really close and seeing each other every week and winning most of our games, I might add. So now I don't have that much contact with them. Of course, we're friends on Facebook, or I might see them out, out and about in the hood here. But so that soul group had very intimate, specific contracts for 20 years, and now not so much. So that might be a good way for us to understand what soul groups are. Now, again, maybe some of the signatures on your contracts, those beings may not have bodies. So you might actually have soul contracts with people that are not incarnate, or that you don't really know anymore here on Earth. So that's what I got, Crystal.
Oh, I got chills with that. Good stuff. Yeah. And you know what? I was taking a peek at you, of course. I was taking a peek at you energetically, and I wanted to see your soul groups. And the way that you're showing me is your energy is right here. And then it's so interesting. I see about 5 or 6 different soul groups. Of course, this doesn't mean that you're limited to this. This is just what you're showing me right now. And so you're right here, and I see a bunch over here. I see like a soul group here, a soul group here, here, and here. And this one really is lighting up. And that whenever I see that, that just means that it's like, read me, read me. So I went ahead and pulled this soul group of yours forward. And it's so interesting. What it is you showed me the picture of, it feels like it's kind of like kindergarten type age group. And this is really a soul group of yours of like your kindergarten class. It might have been like preschool, kindergarten, like that age group. And it's so interesting because I looked at all of your crown chakras, which of course is right here. And all of you are matching. It's a matter of like you all are carrying the same vibration. And that's how you're part of this soul group. So even though you may not be connected to any of these people anymore, you're clearly an adult. You wrote us. So I'm assuming this is quite some time ago. I'm picking up on maybe about 30 years ago. And so even though you don't have much interaction with this soul group anymore, it's like you're still kind of pulling information from each other. And you might perhaps know them just off of vibration when maybe you won't recognize, their earth plane body anymore since it's been so long, but you would feel comfortable in their space because your vibrations are matching. You all are carrying the same vibration. So, and then what I'm also picking up is even though you may not know them here on the earth plane anymore, that at night when your light body aspect, the soul part of you, goes ahead and leaves body and then goes and starts working on the astral, that this soul group, your kindergarten soul group, you actually work very, very closely together on the astral. So even though you're not here working on the earth plane together, you're actually on the astral doing lots of stuff, and it feels very humanitarian, which is very interesting. So, and you get like a lot of like joy from this group. So I'm sure if you did run into any of your kindergarten playmates that you would kind of feel that comfortableness. So that's what I got. Very interesting. I love this world.
What I think is so interesting, and maybe our viewers don't realize it, Crystal, but maybe they've asked themselves as they watch our podcast, how do we know all this stuff, right? Well, that's how. because Jessica, who Crystal just read, taught us that that's possible too. So that's how we learned all this stuff, is from reading people like you. I just thought I'd drop that in there.
Yeah, we lived through it. Like, as much as we're bringing this information to you, it's such a good point, Lauren. As much as we're bringing it to you, you're bringing it to us. We love what we do.
All right, time for the second question of this episode, Crystal. Now, this one comes from Betty S. in Portland, Oregon. So thanks, Betty. She says, I know this may sound silly, but I'm deathly afraid that I'll marry the wrong guy. How can I be sure that the person I'm engaged to is my soulmate? Crystal?
Well, I think this is a loaded question. Happy to answer it. I have lived through this on this earth plane and then several other lifetimes. So, this really goes back to contracts. I think a lot of this comes back to contracts. So let's go back to that, where really a soulmate, those are the contracts that you have to live through the most, the ones that have the most energy on it, the ones that really you learn the most from are your soulmate relationships. Now, because this question is formed, it's posed in a partnership little package. You're concerned about marrying the right guy. Well, let's talk about soulmates a little bit. Soulmates are not exclusive to just romantic partnerships. And I also think that a lot of people think that the question of soulmate means that there's only one, right? That only one exists, and this is going to be a lifelong partnership. I think that's really the context, like the misnomer of what people have identified soulmate with, that you meet your soulmate, there's only one, you hope that you grab them, what if you miss that one chance of that soulmate, you're never going to have love again, and then it's going to be everlasting love, like that fairy tale. And the way that we read it, I don't know about you, Dr. Lauren, but the way that I read it is that we've got so many soul contracts with different soulmates. Our best friends are our soulmates, our siblings can be soulmates. It's the contracts that have the most energy on it, the contracts that are really that really impact your life the most. Now, I've been married before. I've had some soul contracts I've worked through in this soulmate relationship, and I can understand that. I mean, there's a lot of fear with whether this is the right or the wrong person. And I have to tell you that I'm not crazy about the words right, and I'm not crazy about the word wrong, because you have signed a soul contract to have this partnership. So really, I mean, it is a soulmate in the long end of things, and you're going to live through these contracts, and you're going to learn through it. And it may not be for a lifetime. It may be for a year. It may be 5 years. It may be 10 years. Whatever it is, know that you're going to get the experience that your higher self really came here to experience through this partnership. So you're going to live through this. And so just in that is a soulmate, because this relationship is really going to impact you for a lifetime. And that's how you know it's a soulmate, that it's going to, so whether this relationship, this marriage ends a lifetime, and I hope it does if that's what you want, or if it, works through for 5 years, no matter what, it's going to impact your entire life. And that's really how you know it's a soulmate. So more so, Betty, what I am, I'm paying close attention to your words here. The fact that you phrased it as you're deathly afraid, that was the part that really got my antennas up, was the word deathly afraid. And I think that if you're running that energy of deathly afraid of anything, you're going to kind of create some stuff around that. So, and stuff is a metaphysical term. Am I right, Lauren?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So now that you understand what a soulmate is, and you realize you probably have a lot of them in any one incarnation, have you, like what Crystal and I would say, is that you have a picture in your space that you're looking at that's about fear of marriage. Okay, so if we separate your question out, now that you know what soulmates are, of course, the guy you're engaged to, if this has a huge effect on you, by definition, is a soulmate. But what I thought was interesting is you may never feel comfortable getting married to anyone as long as you have that information in your space that says you're deathly afraid of marrying the wrong person. So I took a peek at you.
What we do.
and this information is actually your mother's. That was, given to you, and we see that a lot of times we're running from our mother's energy or information and energy. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to send Anki Yaya into your space to try to pull out the information that was given to your mother that, well, really what it is in your case is that partners change. So maybe something with your father where she married him and she thought he was one person. By, as time went on, she realized that she had married somebody different, that it was the wrong person. Do you see? So when you got that information, and you got it when you were really young, when you got that information in your space and you started to run on it from your own information, every single time you look at that picture, you're thinking, oh my gosh, is this the person I thought I'd marry or the person they'll be after? So is this the wrong person, or a different person might be a way to say it. So we'll just kind of work behind the scenes, and hopefully if you'll allow the healing, you'll feel this way less and less and less, and you won't be deathly afraid of marrying the wrong person. And good luck with your soulmate.
Good luck. All right, so we're down to question number 3. And question 3 comes from Carl over in London. Hello, Carl. Now, Carl, his situation is, he says, I married my high school sweetheart over 30 years ago. She was my best friend. And a few years ago, she decided to divorce me and move on. I think I'm finally ready to start dating again, but I feel so connected to her. If she is my twin flame, how can I ever move on? Dr. Lauren?
Oh, that's a really, really good question. So let's go back to contracts and let's use the idea of spiritual contracts to define what a twin flame is. So the easiest way to think of it is people who are twin flames have created very similar, if not almost exact, contracts to live through, but they may not necessarily do them together. They might be in a completely different time and space where these contracts came due and the individual flames lived through them and had that experience. So I'll tell you who one of my twin flames is. That it's her. It's Crystal. When we first met, we started getting closer and closer, knowing more about each other. And some of the stories I would tell her, she would freak out because she had the exact same experience, only in another place on Earth in another time. I'm actually 13 years older than Crystal, so you can see there a little bit of time and space between us. So one of the most interesting, and I hope you don't mind my candor.
Well, whatever I've lived through, you lived through. So
so embarrassing to both of us. So when it really started getting weird, as we got to know each other more, was when I told her a story about getting arrested. It's kind of my claim to fame. At 19, I was arrested for open container in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. I had a beer. And by the way, I was so happy, and I told Crystal this, is because the legal drinking age was 18. And in California, where we're from, you have to be 21. So I was super excited, right? Well, I had a beer open where you're not supposed to. So I got arrested, and that's my big criminal record. So I conveyed this to her, and guess what she said?
Exact same story, except for a different location, a different time. So I was exactly 19. I mean, it's so weird. It's so weird. I was exactly 19, and I was in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Drinking age was 18, so I was so excited. And I'm not even a big drinker, and I know Lauren isn't either. And I cracked open a beer on the college campus that I was going to school at. I went to LSU, and I think I had crossed the street from campus. So it like the laws shifted or something. No idea. And I got snagged right then and there. So 19, drinking age was 18, and it was a beer, and I got arrested. And that's just one of the hundreds of stories. It's come to a point where we're like, I don't know, do we even talk anymore? Because whatever I lived through, I know that he lived through.
Yeah, it's funny. So now, just like everything in life, right? Sometimes people are too much alike that instead of it bringing people closer like it did with Crystal and I, it puts them into competition and makes them not like each other at all. Like, for example, well, I was in Jackson Hole, Wyoming when I was 19, and I got handcuffed and taken to my cell because I had an open container.
Well, how much was your ticket? We could have done that.
We could have done that and not liked each other because one's trying to top the other twin flame with a bigger, better experience. Remember, twin flame means you had the same experience. So there's really no, if you don't go into competition, it's the same thing. Mm-hmm. So that's what we think twin flames is. So Crystal, why don't we just cut to the chase and put Carl out of his darkness and into the light. Is this gal his twin flame?
I'm so glad that you asked. I'm so glad you asked, my twin flame. Yeah, Carl, I was taking a peek at you. And you know what? I don't see the energy of you and your ex-wife as twin flames. And the way that I would energetically see that is I would see like two parallel paths. You know, like I can read paths and it would be like two parallel paths. You know, you're kind of like, you know, exchanging information and the paths are this way. They're about the same. You're picking up the same information. And the way that I see you and your wife is that, you know, your higher self would create something, would create a lesson, and then she would kind of learn from that. And then she would create a lesson and then you would learn from that. And it's more like this kind of energy, like soul contract after soul contract after soul contract, you two signing on to teach each other stuff. And so it feels very much like this, almost like Jack and the Beanstalk, you know, it's like one hand over the other. Like that's kind of how the energy feels like with you and your ex-wife. And so if you were twin flames, it would be more of a seamless path like this. So to answer your question, I don't believe that you are twin flames. However, I mean, soulmates, absolutely. You both learned something. So go back to segment 2 for sure. But yeah, I'm not seeing you as twin flames. So, you know, but I do want to give you something, Carl. So I pulled up your soul contracts to date, and I hope that you make sure you're seatbelted in for this one, Carl. I pulled up your soul contracts for you to date, and guess what? You're ready. Your higher self has already signed at least 2. I see the third one maybe coming, like maybe not. But your higher self has already signed at least 2 soul contracts to actually go out on a date. So you're ready, sir. You're ready. All right, Carl. Well, I do hope that answers your question. And again, if we read any of your questions here on this podcast, will you please visit our website at www.metaphysicalqa.com and please click on that free reading button so you can reclaim a free reading from Lauren or myself.
Excellent. Well, Crystal, do you think we've done it again?
Oh my goodness, twin flame. I think that we have done it again, where we have made metaphysics crystal clear.
And golden delicious.
Please visit our website, www.metaphysicalqa.com, to please subscribe and please submit your questions for our future podcast. And please check me out at crystalsunshine.psychicservices.com.
And check me out on the web, goldenrosepsychic.com and laurencielo.com. And if we don't get arrested for open container, we'll be back with another podcast episode.
Please hang up and try again.